Hey everybody, welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. You are listening to episode 112. It's the week of February 7th, 2021. I am your host, Drew, and I am joined by the magnificent Will. What's up, dude?
Dude, we are back, baby.
Oh man, I missed this so much last week. Can I say for the record, first of all, fuck snow. Snow should die. I hate it.
It can kiss my ankle.
That's a nice way of putting it, man. Yeah, snow definitely needs to go the fuck away. We had a nasty storm last week, and it really threw me for a loop, man. We were supposed to have a show kind of delayed last week, and that really didn't work out, did it?
No, it didn't. It did not.
I'm very fortunate to have a job during the pandemic and everything, and I'm glad to be working. But it is an essential job, and when there's bad weather, they will put us up in a hotel. And so the hotel that I was supposed to be staying at was with the same hotel that our good friend of the show, Epic Outro, Dave, was also staying at, and Dave talked me into bringing about $1,000 of recording equipment with me so that we could record an episode together in the lobby, because
ambitious.
I couldn't count on there being any internet connection at the hotel, which would have prevented us from doing the stream or really even a Discord recording like we normally do, right? So there was some confusion with the hotels, and long story short, I ended up at a completely different hotel than he did, and nothing got recorded.
Oh boy.
And that makes me very sad,
Yeah, I was kind of looking forward to that. Just kind of a non-Will episode. We've done a couple of those. I did one with Tom, did a non-Drew episode, and I think you may have done one without me. I can't remember now.
I don't remember, but it is possible. Occasionally we do it. We do make an effort to have no unplanned gaps in the schedule. And I'm pretty proud of our track record so far. But sometimes, things just happen, like, trees fall in houses or blizzards shut the state down, apparently.
Yeah, it's very much, this train never stops mentality. And, it's worked pretty well so far, for sure.
Yeah, man, I think so. So how are you, man? What's going on with you?
I'm well. As you know, I started a new job. So that's been really good and really fun and exciting. And it actually ended up happening the same week that we had that blizzard.
Yeah.
At least I believe it did. So it kind of worked out in my favor that we didn't have a show, because it just allowed me to kind of concentrate on that and not worry too much about the show. But yeah, outside of that, man, I'm well. We're facing winter now, finally, which is kind of annoying. But yeah, outside of that, been doing some gaming. You and I have both been doing quite a bit of gaming, and we've got reviews just up the wazoo, really.
We have 2 reviews this week. We have 2 reviews next week. And who knows, man? I don't know what's going to happen between now and next week. There might even be more reviews. The way you and I've been beating games lately, this is the tagline of this show was always two guys talk about gaming with no time to game or something to that effect. But lately, man, I feel like you and I have just been like really just getting to it.
I think that we've subconsciously had a sort of, sick and tired of being sick and tired moment. I mean, at least that's kind of what I've been sort of meditating on. I'm like, well, how am I just conjuring up the effort and the willpower to just sit down and crank these games out? And I'm actually
Yeah, man.
enjoying them. I'm not doing it as a chore. And I think that's so key, like we talked about so many times before.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we dive into it, man, why don't we get our business out of the way? First of all, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Please check out our website at www.wdgrpodcast.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at WDGR Podcast. And we record live on Twitch every Monday, except for snowstorms, at 6:30.
Then it's a hotel.
Then it's at a hotel at 6:30 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/WDGR podcast. Will, if somebody would like to follow you, how can they find you?
SoundCloud.com/William Grobler Music. Actually, you know what?
Oops.
It still is under the handle Will_Gear, so I take that back.
I put up the wrong lower third. I have a new toy that I'm playing with today. Look at this. This is going to be cool. Oh, look at that. You got a lower third.
Oh my God, I can't wait. There it is.
I hit the wrong button. This is a work in progress, folks. But anyway, you can follow me on Twitter at ScienceStorm. You already saw that, so I'm not going to play that again. Shout out to everybody that's joining us on the live stream today. Epic Outro, Dave. Thank you for bringing all of that recording equipment with you. And I apologize that you did not have an opportunity to use it. I promise you that day will come. Probably like next week at the rate we're going. So.
Dave, you are a saint, sir.
Oh, man. So, I mean, should we just dive right into our reviews at this point?
Sure. You just completed a game called Haven, and in preparation for your review, I actually did a little bit of research, and I watched some gameplay.
Well,
and this game looks pretty interesting, dude.
I hate to disappoint you, but Haven's next week.
Oh, whoops. I'm so tired. Don't yell at me. I'm so tired.
I mean,
you're gonna Call of the Sea.
Yeah, today I'm going to talk about Call of the Sea. It is a game that I finished. I want to say just before the new year. Let me check my my game list real quick. But
I'll tell you what, I did perform research on both, so
okay.
I am somewhat mentally prepared, in at least on how these games look and what the gameplay is like.
Excellent. So Call of the Sea, I finished. Hold on. This is great podcasting. I completed it just after the new year, so about a month ago, almost to the day. And we've just been kind of sitting on some things, trying to bide our time and line up all these episodes to work out in a specific way. And yeah, man, I'm pretty excited to talk about it because I think it's a game that's worth checking out. There's some pretty cool stuff going on with Call of the Sea. If you like puzzle games, kind of like along the lines of Myst, The Witness, I would say, is a good example. This is the type of game that would be up your alley. And it's a first-person adventure puzzle game. It's set in the 1930s, and it is, for all intents and purposes, an exclusive to the Microsoft platform. So we're talking Xbox, Xbox One, Xbox Series S, Xbox Series X, and Windows. And the cool thing with this game is it's pretty short. So if you're just kind of squeeze in something quick that you haven't had, maybe you've been back to back with some longer games and you want to kind of just squeeze in something pretty quick. This is the type of game that you absolutely can do that with. I want to say it's maybe 5-6 hours, depending on how long it takes you to solve some of the puzzles.
Okay.
You're playing as a character named Nora, and she is voiced by a actress by the name of Cissy Jones. She's got quite a resume. Both the leads in this game have an extensive resume. Cissy Jones, probably most famously in video games, has done Firewatch and Walking Dead. And she's on a search for her missing husband. Her search leads her to an island in the South Pacific. And that island is filled with all sorts of secrets that she must solve in order to kind of bring her towards where her husband is. She doesn't know what happened to him. She just know that he went on an expedition, and she's got to find him. And her husband is named Harry. He's played by a voice actress by the name of Yuri Lowenthal. And I looked up this guy's Wikipedia page before we started recording. My God, it is long. He has done, I mean, you name it, like anime, voiceover work for TV, for film, video games. He's done some acting as well too. He's not a bad looking guy, so I could see him getting some acting parts. And I mean, like we're talking hundreds of stuff. Like, look at his video game lineup, and it's insane how much work this dude's done.
What's his name again?
Yuri Lowenthal, and I actually have a link for his Wikipedia in our notes. So
I
like,
wonder if he's chasing Mr. Troy Baker at this point.
I mean, he's giving Troy Baker a run for his money, quite frankly. You know, just looking over it here, he's done stuff for The Last of Us. He's done, most notably, I would say, his role as Peter Parker in the Spider-Man games on the PlayStation, both the one for the PS4 and Miles Morales. He played Johnny in the FF7 remake. It's crazy. So, in any case, Nora is afflicted by some sort of unexplained illness, and they don't go into a ton of details as to what the illness is, but she has spots all over her hand, right? And she's always kept that kind of secret because she wears gloves, so nobody ever gets to really see these spots. She thinks that her husband has gone to this island trying to find a cure, and he took a crew, he took a ship, and sailed over to this specific island. And she hires her own charter to drop her off there alone with nobody else. And she decides that she's going to look for him. And throughout this, she starts uncovering all these different puzzles that she has to deal with. You know, perhaps she's got a situation where there's a locked gate, right? And this gate is made out of, you know, trees that are like carved out and strung together by rope, and you know, looks like maybe the original inhabitants of the island had put it there, right? And then she starts looking around, she finds some totems, and the totems have symbols on them, and she starts writing down the symbols in a notebook, which you can use at any time to refer back to. These notes are critical to the puzzle solving process of this game. So she writes down these notes. She starts looking up, you know, okay, there's something over here maybe I didn't check out. And as she's uncovering how to get past each step of each stage, she's also finding documentation left behind by the crew. Some of it is photographs. Some of it is, you know, maybe notes that were handwritten by the crew. She does find audio logs from her husband, from other members of the crew, books, all kinds of different things, right? And all the important stuff that is actually critical to solving the puzzle, she'll write down in her journal. And then she'll have a separate section in that journal for things that are more story related, but less like puzzle, related, right? And as you go through this, you know, you start to uncover essentially like a lost civilization. And it leads you further down a bit of a dark path trying to find Harry. You start uncovering what he was kind of getting into, and the game takes a very Lovecraftian direction. And I don't mean in a horror way, but just kind of in the overtones and the mystery of it all. And there's even some references to like H.P. Lovecraft, like language. So if you're used to speaking or listening to things that have that kind of inflection to it, you'll definitely get that with this game.
That's cool.
Yeah. The entire time, Nora is using an internal dialogue that represents to the player what is going on in her head. And while the acting is of a pretty good caliber, the dialogue is written pretty bad. It's the kind of things where like she'll be like, oh, this reminds me of that time when she'll be working on a puzzle and she'll stop and she'll be like, this reminds me of the time where my husband proposed to me, under the starlight, with the full moon. And she'll like go into this whole description that she already knows the answer to. It's merely background information for the player, but the way it's worded is terrible. Like, think of a TV show, right? And you know how, like, if you're watching a series, recurring characters will kind of have the scene reset for them every time they come back, because it's intended for the viewers that maybe have missed a week. So it'd be like, oh, you remember Bob, my brother, right? That kind of stuff.
It's that kind of stuff. Okay.
And it's just hammered home over and over and over again. And to answer Epic Outro's question about tentacles, all I will say is maybe. But yes, that dialogue is just, at first, it just seems out of place and kind of silly. And over time, it becomes, I think, a little bit more frustrating and annoying and kind of grating as well, too. So, not my favorite.
Kind of a bummer.
Yeah, not my favorite part of the game, honestly. It was kind of took me out of it, But yeah, so like, the story starts out as a simple mystery. You're just kind of looking for your husband, trying to find him. And then as you get progressively further and further into the game, you start encountering different clues, different bits of story elements that start to piece together what he and his crew were actually doing on this island. And it ends up becoming this huge uncovery of an ancient civilization, as well as this black ooze, which, is related to the civilization, but it starts to kind of lean towards perhaps this ooze is responsible for Nora's mysterious illness. And they kind of take you down that path. And I don't want to go too far into the story, because I think there are some elements of surprise that are kind of worth checking out. But it's a clever way of incorporating a mystery with puzzles that require you to really put your mind to it and kind of figure out. They're not, a lot of them are not obvious at all. Some of them, you kind of look at it right away, and it's the kind of thing where, you look at it and you see the symbols on the wall, and then you'll maybe see the symbols off to the distance, and you'll be like, oh, done. Takes like 2-3 seconds. And then some of them perhaps are a little bit more complicated.
Did you say that this game is a first-person perspective?
Is. Yes, okay. It is.
Can you only walk, or can you run as well?
It's pretty much just walking. Movement's slow. It's very deliberate. This is not the kind of game that you're supposed to kind of like blast through. I mean, I'm sure somebody probably speed runs, but it's not that kind of game. It's a very relaxing, low key game. The penalty for failure is you don't progress. Like, there's really no way to die. So there's no rush. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of these games, man. These like sort of walking puzzle simulators. There's so many. There's Gone Home. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. What Remains of Edith Finch. The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. Dear Esther. They're all, and then The Witness, of course. They're all these sort of walking simulators, and that sounds like kind of a bad thing, but it's not. I've played a couple of them, and I kind of enjoy them. They're a nice change of pace, and it sounds like I'd be willing to check this game out for that same reason.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely something worth checking out here. It's not a difficult game to kind of fall into, because once you start solving the puzzles, you kind of get in that zone. It's like, all right. And the story is engaging enough to kind of make you wonder what's next. Where is this going? What is Nora's husband doing? Where is he? What is Nora's, illness, and how does it relate to everything that's happening on the island? So
it's sparking some curiosity.
It is. And despite my complaints about the dialogue and the acting, the puzzles were engaging enough where I felt myself encouraged to continue playing. And I really didn't want to, I wanted to finish the game, point blank. I felt a desire to complete this game. I didn't want to abandon it.
That's good. That's huge for us, man.
Yeah.
So huge.
Yeah, I mean, like, we've talked about it numerous times before, trying to make the best of the time that we have and not focus on games that are not worthy of our time. And knowing that this game was short, I think lended to my desire to continue keep pushing through. I think if I knew ahead of time that this was like a 10 or 15-hour game, maybe I wouldn't have been so aggressive with beating it. I might have just kind of fired it up here and there casually, but this, when I was playing it, this was the only thing I was playing.
Good.
So
Yeah, I mean, it definitely works. That one game approach, we don't always we don't always, execute on that perfectly, but when it does work, it definitely works in our favor most of the time.
yeah, definitely. Some other things worthy of note in this game too. I want to talk about the graphics for a moment. It was a beautiful game. I would say for the most part, there really wasn't a ton of stuff that left me feeling like it's next gen. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like there was absolutely some gorgeous parts graphically, specifically with the water. The water looked really wonderful. The waves, rainfall, things like that. They look stunning. Um, but at the same time, too, I didn't feel like this game really pushed the limits of the system in any way. And like, it's kind of tough to do that, I think, because we're looking at a game that's coming in while the Xbox One is still active. It's this wasn't developed strictly for the Series X or the Series S. It was meant to be a cross-platform game, and I could, even though it was optimized for the Series X, I would say probably just in loading times. I don't think there was really anything else about it that was optimized. But that said, the textures and the colors were very bright, vibrant. The game was stunning to look at, especially in there's some underwater scenes later on in the game.
nice.
Absolutely beautiful, and the sky is just every section of the game has a wildly different look to it, and the graphics fully capture every bit of that.
Well, the art style is pretty unique,
It
right? Like
is.
there's no other game that's been able to kind of emulate the same style. I mean,
Yeah,
what would you compare it to?
it's tough. It's got a bit of a cell shaded look to it.
Okay, cell
Um,
shaded.
but outside of that, like if I really think, you know, I remember seeing some of the same kind of colors in The Witness, but I
Okay.
didn't finish that game, so I don't know where that goes. I only really played like the first level or two. Um, but overall, man, I do think it's a pretty game. Certainly not unappealing to the eyes. You have a very cartoony, cel shaded look to it with bright colors. And it works, especially with the puzzles too. When you're looking at symbols, you need to be able to identify those symbols very easily. This game allows you to accomplish that.
Hmm. Would it be comparable to maybe Zelda Wind Waker
Um,
mixed with The Witness?
yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair comparison.
A
Um,
marriage of sorts.
yeah, I
It's a
mean,
weird marriage, but
The Witness and the Wind Waker. sounds like
yeah.
that sounds like a band name.
I know.
but yeah, man, it Wind Waker did also have those like very bright colors, kind of flat textures. It was early cell shaded game,
hmm
and I could see this taking some inspiration from that. Sure.
Okay.
So,
Cool. I have to
uh,
look into it more. Like I said, I did some light research, and I don't
mhm.
really remember much of what I saw, but
Right.
I remember it looking pretty interesting. Like it just had a unique look about it.
Yeah, it's certainly I think worth your time if you're looking for something a little different to play. Um, as far as like the sound and the music goes, I don't really have a ton to say about that. The sounds are certainly clear and vibrant, but there
Mm,
isn't a ton that stands out, especially when it comes to the music. There is one song that they use. It's a song from 1918 called "Dear Old Pal of Mine," and it's a song that they kind of sing a couple times. It seems to be a kind of like Harry and Nora's like their song. You know how
okay.
most couples have that their own song. This is kind of like their song, and that was really the only thing that stood out musically for me. The rest of it, is pretty forgettable, and
Mm,
that's not necessarily a bad thing. We talk about music a lot here, and there's so many awesome soundtracks that sometimes it's nice to just kind of let a game, I think, just be its
be a
own.
game.
Yeah, you know.
What
So
would you say that the score was? Was it kind of orchestral stuff, or
I
is it like
yeah, I would say orchestral. But
just like whimsical
yeah,
like tunes and stuff?
I don't remember a lot of it, quite frankly.
Hmm.
It's not something that really grabbed me. So I kind of went in one ear and out the other.
Yeah, it's in the background.
It very much was, very much was. So outside of that, man, I don't have a ton more to say about the game. I do say it's a pretty good experience overall. I know there were a lot of review sites that were giving it like nines and eights, and I don't know if I'd go
Hmm.
that high. I feel like a seven, 7.5 is a good spot for this game. It's a good game. It's well crafted. It's not flawless, but I think there is quite a bit positive to talk about here. Hopefully, I came across that with my review. I can't say it's something that I will go back to, or it won't. It certainly won't make any of my game of the year lists. But I
Hmm.
think if you're looking for a game to play, over the course of a weekend, you could certainly pick a lot worse games than Call of the Sea.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm still going to look into this, man,
Yeah.
because like I said before, I think your review combined with my liking towards these sort of walking puzzle simulators, which is kind of what this sounds like,
Mm-hmm.
with a nice kind of color palette and art style that I could probably get behind. I still think it's worth a look. So, no, that's cool, man. It's a shame that the soundtrack wasn't great because that's so huge for me and
Mm.
really for both of us. But like you said, sometimes maybe in this case, it just needed to be more of a game than a soundtrack.
And that's not to say that you won't find something in there that I missed.
Hmm.
I would recommend going on YouTube and looking up some of the music from it. That's probably something that I should have done prior to our recording, quite honestly, because it has been literally a month since I've touched the game, and it would have done me some good to have a refresher. I've been playing Haven for something like 45 hours or so. So the music
Oh,
from
Jesus.
the music in Haven is like stuck in my head, and it just kind of washed everything else away.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I want to talk to you about Haven now, but I know I can't.
Well, I mean,
45 hours. That's serious,
I
dude.
I can certainly talk about it, but it would remove us from having a review next week. So,
No, we'll save it. We'll save it.
I will just drop this little tidbit. The in-game playtime counter, I think in that game is broken, because if I pause the game and I go into the settings and I look at the amount of time I've played Haven, it says 167 hours, and that is not possible.
There's no way. I know who
Uh,
you are. I know where you live. I know what you do for work. There's no way. There's no way.
I think what happened was every time I put the game in suspended state and play something else or just pause it, it would just keep that timer running. And I think
Mm.
combined with all that stuff, it ranked up like 170 hours. But I can tell you for almost 100% certainty, there's no way that I put that much into it. But it was a long game. Absolutely was a
So
long game.
are we realistically looking at about 45 then
Yeah, I mean,
hours?
a lot of people were saying the game was 30 to 35 hours. So knowing the way I play games, I was pretty thorough with it. That was a 40-hour game.
Mm.
I,
Well, that's the thing. Like, how long to beat is kind of tricky, right? Like, they give you
mm,
a good estimate,
hmm
but there are definitely times where I've exceeded the average play time, and sometimes I'm like, man, do I really suck at games? And there's probably a good percentage of that that's true,
Yeah.
but I think a lot of it is just procrastination and not doing what the
Mm,
average person is doing, which is kind of staying diligent with it.
yeah. So I just looked up Haven on how long to beat, and people are averaging about 18 and a half hours for completionists. I definitely played more than that.
Mm,
But I took my time with it though, you know. So I honestly would say I put 30 hours into Haven.
yeah. Well, see, I'm the kind of person that'll eat a grilled cheese and not pause the game. Like, I'll just sit there
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
watch like my character stand still, and I know the ticker is still ticking,
Yeah.
for those moments, especially in Uncharted. So,
Hmm.
it is what it is. I'm savoring it
Yeah.
as well as my grilled cheese.
Absolutely.
Dude, I remember before we kind of move on here, I remember Call of the Sea getting quite a bit of attention
Mm.
when it was first debuted. I can't remember if you mentioned what year it came out.
Last year. It came out in
It
the
was
yeah, it came out December of 2020.
Okay, so it must have been 2019 that some of that hype was starting to form because I remember that game was pretty hype. I don't remember like if it was a specific kind of gamer that was excited for it, but I
Mm.
remember quite a bit of chatter around it before it even came out. So
Most of the chatter that I remember seeing was because it was one of the first games to come out post Series X launch, and
that could have been why.
it went straight to Game Pass. So that was kind of a big deal too.
Mm.
But I don't remember hearing a ton about the game too far out. But quite honestly, like I tend to shield myself from games that are like announced way in advance if I can help it. And
No, thank
I don't think I really fully understood what this game was going to be when I did hear about it, so I kind of just dismissed it.
Same. I think it was a lot to do with the fact that it just had that unique look and plot that I think was really just kind of something that people could get behind. I'm not really sure why, but
Mm,
trying to kind of transport back to that time period, but my memory's foggy.
yeah.
Dave, my answer to you is a vegan tomato and cayenne cheese.
So this is a question from the chat and Twitch here. What kind of cheese, Will? S- so so what is a vegan cheese made out of? That is my
So
question.
I don't know. It kind of scares me because I didn't foil it up that well last time. So there was some exposed like foil and it was kind of like ripping off and Lauren
Mm.
was like, "Honey, you didn't even wrap this well and now it's got like weird hard edges." And normally most cheese would start going moldy or it would start looking just a little bit more weird than a hard edge. And I don't know, man. I don't know what it is, but I ate it. It's good. And when I when I don't have that cheese, or when I don't, f you, Dave. Um, when I don't have that cheese, I'll definitely be down for a pepper jack or a good Munster.
uh,
I love cheese. I love regular cheese, not just vegan cheese. I just get that when I don't always want a lot of dairy in my life,
mm.
Dave.
Well, I uh, I will eat any kind of cheese at any time of day in any circumstance.
I ate a hunk of a dill Havarti the
Ooh,
other night because we had some left over from when we had my sister and my brother-in-law here. And I was like, what's in this foil? And I opened it up. It was a nice big hunk just right down the hatch.
nice. That sounds that sounds lovely, man. It really does sound
But
lovely.
it's got to be one of my favorite cheeses is dill Havarti.
Oh my god. Dave has a nice title for the episode, perhaps. Will's pretentious grilled cheese.
Mm. Dude, I make a really good one, man. I'll butter that toast well. I'll make it with like Dave's bread.
Mm,
No pun intended, but it's a really good bread. Dave, you should definitely try out Dave's bread.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, I'll just use a really good quality butter, like an Irish butter in a skillet.
Mm,
And I put a little mustard sometimes in there,
mm.
which also gives it a little bit of zing.
That's weird.
All this talk of cheese invokes memories of Charlie from
It's always sunny. It's
ISI. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's always sunny in Philadelphia.
I've
Yeah.
heard that show's good.
Killer Ciroc dropping the sunny talk. Yeah, man. Always Sunny is one of my favorite shows, and it is just absolutely ridiculous. It is like four of the worst beings on the entire planet doing some of the worst things possible, but they are such morons that they just don't pull it off very well. So,
It it kind of sounds like Trailer Park Boys, and I've only seen
mm.
like one or two episodes of that show, and it looks pretty funny actually.
Yeah, Trailer Park Boys is pretty good too. I've only seen a couple episodes myself. I don't know. I don't know that I would compare it quite to that, but it's same kind of style, I suppose. In a way, yeah. Vortex, thank you for the correction. You're right. 5 of the worst. I don't know why I thought
Mm.
4. There are 5 main characters. So, in any case, yeah, you should watch Sunny. I definitely recommend it.
It's like they do like a lot of like skits and stuff, right? Like I don't
No,
know. I feel like somebody told me about this.
no. Each episode is self-contained. It's a
Okay.
full story. But it's just ridiculous. I'll send you a video for the Grilled Charlie after this episode, and
Okay.
and you'll get an appreciation for what Killer Ciroc is talking about.
I'm already intrigued. The
Mm.
grilled Charlie, he says.
The Grilled Charlie. So,
A grilled Charlie. Okay.
so what have you been playing? What have you beaten?
Well, yeah. So as most of the listeners know, I've been on kind of this Uncharted kick. Coming off the heels of Uncharted 4, I went straight to the Lost Legacy, just kind of naturally so because that
Mm,
game came out after. I want to say it was like a year or two after, and it's a 2017 game. It's more or less a standalone expansion to Uncharted 4. Some could call it a DLC, even though it wasn't, but it's a good way of thinking about it. But yeah, I beat that very recently. I want to say like maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe three, somewhere around there. I have the date written somewhere. But yeah, another tremendous experience. This game, you're controlling Chloe Fraser, who is one of Nathan's old friends and sort of a former love interest. And you're partnered up with Nadine Ross, who is pretty much the same age, same kind of character. She was one of the villains in four. And you're also partnered up with eventually Samuel Drake, who is Nathan's brother, who is pretty much your main sidekick in Uncharted 4. So, really, pretty much an all star lineup once again. Um, and, it's a 5 to 7 hour game. So, it's kind of like a 10,000 foot overview, as we say in the sort of corporate world. And basically, the plot is you're on this mission to kind of seek out the Tusk of Ganesh in the Western Ghats Mountains in India. So the whole game takes place in India. There's a civil war going on. You're in the midst of it, and the main villain in this game is a guy named Asav, who's basically this sort of Indian warlord
mm,
with this kind of army of insurgents with him. So pretty generic story. You're on this mission to get this treasure in India. You've got this, bad dude that wants to get it too. So it's that same classic concept that we've seen time and time and again with Indiana Jones and of course Uncharted. But that's really not where this game shines.
mm,
I would say that where the game shines is basically what was present in four. It's the gameplay, it's the storytelling, and quite frankly, the storytelling in this game was not as profound as four. Really, just because there's less of an attachment to Chloe and Nadine than you had with Nate and Sam and some of the other characters in four. But that was okay because what this game is it's just more of four with different characters that are still really likable, and I think that's the shortest way that you can describe the Lost Legacy.
hmm.
Um, Kind of moving into our categories, we'll start with gameplay.
Sure.
Same formula as Uncharted 4 here, and pretty much everything else. It's lots of climbing, puzzle solving, melee and gun shootouts, and sort of combat. There's some Jeep driving, which was also present in 4.
Mm-hmm.
Really a lot of fun because, for example, there's real traction with when you're driving the Jeep. I don't know if I mentioned this when I did my 4 review, but if you're running into like mud and rocks on a hill that you have to climb, if the rocks are muddy, the Jeep will actually start skidding and slipping and you can't go up it. So you actually have to maneuver the Jeep in such a way where you go around the mud and eventually climb up the hill. And it even has a wench on it too, which is pretty cool.
Neat.
So it just adds to, I think, the realism of the game. When you have that kind of moment where you're like, man, I really can't get up because it's muddy. But what's interesting is it's not like it's just one muddy side and then the other side is not muddy. It's kind of scattered throughout, but you've got to figure out literally just with your eyes and looking at at the patches of rock that are not muddy and like maneuver this Jeep the way that you would in real life to get up the hill. So that was pretty cool. And that happens quite a bit. What's also kind of neat is the game's AI, especially with yourself and Nadine. So, for example, if you're driving the Jeep and you're going the wrong way or you feel a little bit lost, Nadine will start kind of chiming in saying, like, come on, like, let's get going. Or, you're really not from around here. She'll make like,
Hmm.
cheeky comments here and there, which is pretty cool.
Right.
And then eventually she'll kind of tell you, like, we need to go this way. So I found that to be kind of a cool implementation with just kind of good quality AI and just keeping you on your toes versus just kind of driving a Jeep with basically like a dummy with you that doesn't say anything. And you're just like, fuck, I don't know where to go. Because those moments happen. They kind of toss you in a Jeep and you're kind of in the middle of nowhere and there's many different sort of forks in the road, if you will. And
Mm,
it's kind of difficult sometimes to figure out where you need to go. And you have to constantly hit the little touchpad to pull up your map. And there's less I mean, there's no waypoint in these games, but with Uncharted 4, it was a little bit more clear in what you had to do. With Lost Legacy, you really have to pull up your map a lot because you don't have a journal the way that Nathan did, and you really have to just look at the markings that you've made and try and figure out where you need to go. So there was that.
Mm.
Um,
So just real quick, so
sure.
there's no like there's no indication without the map. Like, is there a compass? Is there like a waypoint or anything to kind of give you a direction to go in?
Not at all. No, a lot of it is just
Hmm.
you have to pay attention. You have to pay attention to where you came from, where you need to go in terms of just visually,
Okay.
and then what the characters are saying. Like there was a couple times where I kind of just, a lot of what they were saying went through one ear and out the other, and I wasn't paying attention. I was like, shit, I don't remember what they said, and now I don't
Mm.
know which way they said to go. But they'll say things like, "Oh, we have to head north," but they'll say it within a conversation, and if you miss that, you might have to pull out your map, and then I just had to guess. I had to look at the marks that had a big red X through it, and then I just assumed that we had already been there, and we need to go to a mark that does not have a red X
Hmm.
through it. So a little bit of thinking, God forbid you use your brain, but it is just really because we're so spoiled, right? Like with all these
Yeah.
other games, there's a waypoint, and you've got your little marker,
Yeah.
sort of a la Skyrim or Witcher style at the top of the screen, or you've got a literal like waypoint that's flashing, like go here, you fucking jackass. And there's a lot of games that do
Yeah.
that, so we're really being pulled on a leash.
Yeah.
So it was kind of nice to, literally pull out a map and try and figure out where to go.
Mm.
Um, a lot of conversation while driving the Jeep as well. So, for example, you'll be having a conversation with Nadine. It might not even be about what we're doing, it could
Hmm.
just be something personal. And what's kind of neat is when you jump out of the car in order to like check out an area, like Chloe might say something like, hang on one second, or hold that thought. And you'll get out and you do your thing and you get back in the Jeep thinking, okay, well, that conversation's gone. Nadine will remind you like exactly where you left off in the conversation and it picks right back up again.
Oh,
That was
interesting.
fucking amazing. I
So,
don't think I've ever experienced that before.
and it just comes across as just very casual.
Very casual and natural. It's not just like you get back in and then it just starts exactly where you left off.
Hmm.
It's like, all right, so where were we? And then it picks back up and it kind of changes pace, but it's still the same subject.
Huh.
I thought that was really impressive, and I think that's just another sort of magic touch of Naughty Dog. One of the only studios that I've come across that has that sort of ability to
Yeah.
to implement some of those sort of details. So that was cool.
Hmm.
What else?
Well,
There's a lot of weapons. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, is there shit? I lost my train of thought. Do
Was it to
they? It was related to the conversations. The
okay?
fuck it, I don't remember.
Hmm.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So like, I think I would have probably like once I realized it did that, I would have like paused the game and like just reloaded saves and tried to cut off the conversation at different points. Is that something that you tried at any point?
It's funny you brought that up because I want to say that might have happened. I
Yeah.
think there was a reason that I had to like actually close the game because I think I
Mm,
was updating or trying to load something else. And when I came back, I'm pretty sure that it still had the same effect, which was pretty amazing.
interesting.
Oh, I remember what it was. I totally remember. I'm so glad you brought this up. So when I was actually having difficulty with the wench on the Jeep, the game had like a sound glitch where it sounded like the Jeep was going through mud, but it was just like literally sitting there. So it was like squishy sounds. And I'm like, oh shit, I might have to like restart the game because I can't get the noise to go away.
Hmm.
So I started to drive off and you could still hear like squishy mud. And I was like, all right, the game's like glitching out. I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
restart it. And I did that in the middle of a conversation. And sure enough, when I came back, it picked back up and it was natural. And I was like, holy shit, I
Wow.
have to make a note of this.
That's really cool.
So it was very cool. Um, yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because I totally forgot about that moment. There's a lot of weapons to pick up,
Hmm.
but ultimately you're going to find yourself sticking to 2 to 3 at all times, usually a handgun of your choice, and then some sort of assault rifle. There's sniper rifles. There's many different weapons that you will come across that fit the situation if you want to use it. But ultimately, just give me an assault rifle that has a pretty decent clip and a good fire rate, and give me a pistol.
Mm,
And I think that's probably how most people play these games, because there's sometimes too many guns to choose from, and some of them are so specific that it's not worth picking them up.
right.
So that's kind of what's going on with weapons. Certainly an abundance to choose from.
How about ammo?
Um,
Was there ever like a shortage of ammunition?
Very rarely, man.
Mm,
Same concept as 4 in the previous games. Like when you kill an enemy, you can run over their body, and there's like a little ammo symbol, so you can press and hold triangle and pick up their ammo. So
mm.
and you get a nice little like ammo sound, like kind of like you're loading up a clip or a magazine into your gun. So it's pretty cool.
So we have a comment from the
Uh,
Twitch chat from Killer Sirach. He says, "Lost Legacy proved that the Uncharted franchise can exist without Nathan Drake." Um,
Very, very true. I think that's a really good way of kind of summing that up.
all right.
And I really think that ultimately the reason why I'm agreeing with that is because of just really everything I'm going to dive into. I mean, obviously Nathan is basically the face of PlayStation and the face of Uncharted, but it's possible that it can be done without him, and it's so true. Lost Legacy was such a proving point for that concept, so I'm
Mm,
so glad it happened. Um, Tall grass is really common. It was also common in 4. This allows you to kind of have stealth combat and sneak up, across enemies.
mm.
So you can kind of hide in the grass. You'll automatically crouch. I think Last of Us has a similar
Oh yeah,
concept there.
yeah, extensively.
Yep. So it's pretty cool because I find that in the game, you'll come across many areas like a sort of new building or some sort of home base, and there's like literally like 15 to maybe even 20 enemies. And you got to figure out, okay, do I go in Rambo style, which you can certainly do, and cause a huge scene and likely die? Or do you go in and put on your sort of solid snake hat? And that's exactly what I did, because I play so well like that because I'm so trained on how to do it.
Right, right.
It sounds so ridiculous, but I mean, coming off of Metal Gear games that I've played so many times in my life, I know how to play that way
Mm,
and pretty good at it. So I'll kind of stay in the grass. I'll dive underwater, which you can also do to get to other areas of the area that you're in without being seen. And it's a lot of fun because you can sneak up behind them, hit, I think it's triangle or circle, I can't remember, and you'll do like a stealth kill or
mhm.
like a stealth choke out. And I try to do that for each and every enemy so that no one sees me and I've cleared the whole place. And sometimes it can take like 20 minutes, potentially more, but
Mhm.
it's worth it. I enjoy the thrill of choking out an enemy while another one's like walking my direction. You can see like his little warning bar raising because he's almost inside of you. Like that thrill is really so much more worth it than going in Rambo style.
Mm, very cool.
So that's gameplay in a
Yep.
nutshell. More or less the same, but just more, and it's still great.
Hmm.
Visual department, not a ton to say here, and that's a good thing. It's pretty much identical to the visuals of 4. I would say 4 is definitely better in some aspects. I can't really explain why, but there were just moments that didn't seem quite as spectacular and crisp as 4, but it makes sense because 4 was kind of like their baby. It was their, like end game more or less to the series,
Right.
or at least to Nate's version of it. So but that doesn't excuse what you see in Lost Legacy. I mean, there's still a wide range of beautiful vistas to look at. There's waterfalls, a ton of them, and just an amazing sense of scope with the scenery and especially the statues. I mean, there are statues that you come across that are just absolutely enormous. Like I
Mm.
would say, Asura's Wrath, kind of enormous, just wildly huge, huge like Buddhas. A lot of sort of Indian mythology is really implemented with elephants.
Hmm.
It's fucking amazing. There were definitely moments where I was like, man, I don't know if this is going to really stack up to 4. And then like 20 minutes would go by. I'm like, all right, it stacks up to 4. Because I come across this just breathtaking waterfall. And I think I actually sent you a couple photos and you thought it
Mm.
was Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
And I can see why, because you kind of see the back of a sort of female protagonist.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very Tomb Raider like, and even Uncharted 4 and 3 and 2 are even 1.
Hmm.
You don't have to be a female to have that Tomb Raider quality. So that was a
Right.
good observation on your part.
I
Um,
think I think the reason I jumped to that conclusion was because you had sent me that right around the time that I think Shadow of the Tomb Raider was on PSN.
Yes, which I did grab.
Okay, good,
Did
good.
grab
I
that.
did too. And I've been tempted like to sit down and go through the entire franchise, because that's something I've never done. I've played the
We
first.
should.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say we should do that
Yeah.
because I tell you what, man, I just scooped up PS Plus. We're going off topic here, folks, but just bear with us. We're having like a little like buddy moment here, but I just recently picked up PS Plus because I had run out for quite some months now, and
Mm,
I scooped up the first Tomb Raider reboot for $2.99,
yeah.
Rise of the Tomb Raider for $4.99, and
Nice.
then Shadow for free. And I was like, I gotta let everybody know about this in deals in Discord, which I did.
Yep.
Hopefully, everybody saw that. I doubt it's still happening now. Well, it's not.
No.
Tomb Raider and Rise of the Tomb Raider might still be on sale, but Shadow is probably back up to full.
Yeah.
But I think we should do that, man. I
Yeah.
played the first reboot and it was spectacular. So I think we should consider that.
Yeah, let's talk about that offline for sure because I've been wanting to go through those games. I played almost the entirety of the first game, and my collectathon mentality got in the way and kept me from finishing it. So I do want to kind of circle back to it, start it from scratch. And as far as Rise of the Tomb Raider, they had the same sale on the Xbox, and I was gonna grab it, and I didn't. I don't remember what prevented me. I think I was just short on cash for the month, honestly. So
Fair.
hopefully it will be on sale again soon because for $5, I mean that's really a steal. And I did
It
grab
really
it
is.
on I grabbed it on PSN, Shadow of the Tomb Raider as well too. So I'd prefer to play all three on the same platform, but it's really not necessary.
Dude, I think that the first reboot is worth like $40
Well,
even
I paid
now.
40 for it. Yeah.
That game is really, I mean, like
It's
Dave
really
said,
good.
they're stupendous.
Yeah.
They really are.
Hmm.
But anyway, um, visual. So mocap and animations are still top tier. Everything that you would expect from 4 is still present here. I mean, it's just excellent work by Naughty Dog. There's a lot of realism with mud and water, kind of
Mm.
similar to the Jeep. You get, jeans getting wet, your hair gets wet, and it sort of dries somewhat realistically. I mean, obviously, if you get your jeans wet, your hair wet, it's going to be wet for probably a couple hours.
At
So that certainly
least.
doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But it's a video game, so it has to dry eventually. But it's still cool. Still cool to see
Uh,
that. Moving on to sound design, similar to Call of the Sea, not a ton to say here. I put music as a separate category, but for sound design, it's pretty much a mirror image of what I said about 4. It's got this unique sound design that Naughty Dog implemented, where the surround sound is just really, really something that you have to experience. It's very
mm.
special. It's still got that effect where you can be running off in the distance and Nadine is behind you, and it's just the way that her voice carries.
Mm.
It's just so realistic, and you can hear it every time. And I don't understand how they did it because there are other games that implement a similar sound design, and I just feel like it doesn't quite capture what they were able to do there. So
Mm. And you
um,
were playing with the headphones again, I assume.
for the most part, yeah. If
Yeah.
Lauren wasn't around, I maybe play off the sound bar, which
Right.
also has surround sound codecs, but it's nothing beats a headset because you really do get that closer feel. So
Right. Right.
um, same stuff, a lot of explosions, wildlife, foliage, wind, water, rain.
Mm.
It all sounds great. So no complaints there. Music. Yeah, this is more comparable to your review of Call of Sea. It's great stuff. It's got that nice, adventurous, sort of mysterious sound that you find in these games, but not as triumphant as 4. 4 had some moments where you're just like, I've got chills
Right.
because it's just so good. But with Lost Legacy, it's orchestral textures. It's a lot of sweeping stuff that you would hear in any sort of action movie. It's all good.
Right.
It keeps you interested and inclined. But I will say they did a really good job implementing like an Indian ethnic vibe to the
Hmm.
music, so it really makes you feel like you're in India. So I really appreciated that.
Hmm.
Lots of sort of tempuras and stuff. Vic would probably be familiar with that instrument.
Mm.
Um, Not really my style by any means in terms of the song that I heard at the end title with the credits. It was a song that I actually sent to you. It was catchy and fun. It was a song by MIA. The artist is MIA,
Yeah.
and the song is called Borders. And pretty much like rap, hip hop, pop, I guess, is how you could explain it.
Hmm.
It's a little funky. but it was nice to have that song cue in at the end of the game. It's like a sort of final scene that the song cues in. I was like, oh, this is kind of fun.
Hmm.
And then the credits started rolling, and there was little animations of the makers of the game that were
Oh,
standing like next to the like their name would pop up and it would say like sound design, and there would be the person's name and then a cartoon character of them in like a sort of in with like an Indian robe on. I was like, oh, this is so cool. And that song was playing, and it all just kind of gelled.
hmm.
And even though that artist is Sri Lankan and not Indian, and the song is not an Indian song, it had that sort of Indian hip hop vibe,
It fit.
and I think it fit, and I
Yeah.
think that's why they chose it. And I was like, all right, this is a cool way to end the game because this game is not
Hmm.
super serious. It's a generic story. It's a DLC basically to four. Let's just keep it fun. So
I'm gonna I'm
I
gonna
appreciated that.
I'm gonna level with you, man. You sent me that song, and I didn't want to like burst your bubble because I know you were like coming off of a high of like beating
I
that
was.
game, but I hated that song.
I kind of hate it too. I sort of hate it, love it because
Yeah.
I think about the game when I hear it. So that's cool,
Mm,
and it is kind of catchy, but it's like a bad catchy. Like
yeah.
it's so catchy that it's like a hypnotic drone that you get stuck in your head. I actually had it stuck in my head, I think, yesterday because I thought about it and I
Mm.
shouldn't have, and I thought about it, and it was stuck in my head for like
Yeah.
like a quarter of the day.
Yeah. No, it just wasn't for me. And that's okay. Like, I don't have a problem with that. Maybe I'll
Yeah,
feel different after playing the game, but from what you sent me, the music video and even the credit sequence, which, was cool. It just I shut it off. I did not leave it on. I was just like, nope, not, I just don't care.
I
So,
I think yeah, it was a shot in the dark when I was
yeah.
sending it to you. I was like, this is like a Venus flytrap right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I think it'll be I think it'll be more fitting if you play the game. Like
Yeah.
you'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
So and then moving on to two more categories: memorable moments and then final thoughts. So
Mm,
memorable moments, I would say definitely riding an injured elephant that we found trapped, and kind of riding this elephant through this section of the game while having a conversation on the elephant, eventually encountering a family of elephants that were pretty much standing at the end of a waterfall in like this sort of cavern was just fucking spectacular. Like you could hear
mm.
the water hitting inside of the cavern, so everything was echoing. There's this beautiful family of elephants just kind of lined up, and there's like a couple of smaller, like sort of baby ones, and they were all just like doing that thing that elephants do where they suck up water and kind of toss it back. And it was just amazing. It was just like this little safe haven that we came across. And Chloe and Nadine had this sort of moment where they're just like, wow, like look at this like family, like, but we
Mm.
can't get too close because apparently Indian elephants are really volatile.
Hmm.
So you kind of get a sort of education on Indian elephants, that sort of breed. And
We will
it
need
was cool. Like,
we'll need Vortex and Lost Monkey to confirm that for us.
yeah,
Can we fact
because they
check
have a,
that?
yeah, their massive experience with elephants in India. But hey, you never know. But
Yeah.
what's also worth mentioning is Chloe has a camera, so she has actually a camera on her phone that she constantly takes out and takes pictures of like vistas and stuff when she reaches like the edge of a cliff.
Mm.
And she asked Nadine to take a photo of me, aka Chloe, next to the elephants, kind of putting my hand out so it looks like I'm touching one of the elephants, sort of like the Eiffel Tower touch thing
Yeah.
that people do, or
Yeah.
the Leaning Tower of Pizza. It was kind of one of those moments,
Yeah.
but with an elephant. That was really special. And I tell you what, man, when we were leaving that area, I actually turned around because I didn't really want to leave. Like I kind of turned Chloe's character just to kind of like look back at the elephants, and you could still see them like doing like random things and like washing themselves. And I was like, man, like they really didn't cut corners with even just this small little section. They put work into
Mm.
how these elephants operate and are animated. And I was really impressed with that. So that was probably my number one moment in the game. I know it's a small thing, but it was really special for me.
Hmm.
I mean, given the fact that most of the time you're dealing with crazy shootouts and all this like over the top action sequences, it was nice to have that moment of just downtime
Yeah.
to enjoy some volatile self-washing Indian elephants.
The downbeats in Naughty Dog games have always stood out to me way more than any of the action sequences. You know, that those moments where the characters are just being people,
Absolutely.
they pull that off, I think, maybe better than any other studio.
I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, what was that? Last of Us Left Behind. I mean,
Yeah.
that DLC was probably one of the best DLCs I've ever played.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good
It was.
example. And, you know, even just thinking about like, Ellie and Dina when they're first exploring Seattle in Last of Us Part
Mhm.
2. And just the conversations that they're having as they're going in and out of these stores, especially the music store. My God, the music store.
Oh, I
Um,
mean, I just
yeah,
not to interject, but I think that you're really hitting the nail on the head there. I think it's that's how their storytelling is so different,
yeah,
is that they combine those downtime conversations that um help you fall in love and become more attached to the characters
yeah,
and care for them more.
yeah,
And without that, you get those sort of wooden protagonists, and you're left kind of not really remembering much of the story or the character development because there really wasn't much of one.
yeah. I think that's a really good point, because you start to fall in love with these characters. You start to develop feelings and emotions for them. They matter to you. What happens to them matters to you, and ultimately, these are the types of characters that stick with you. You know, people are
Hmm.
still talking about, you know, Ellie and Joel and Abby from Last of Us. People still talk about Nathan Drake. You know, just a couple examples, and you wouldn't have those moments with these characters if it was only action, only shootouts, only gameplay. If you didn't have those downbeats or those little conversations that develop who they are outside the main context of the game. You know, and talking about this now and thinking about Call of the Sea, I think it's a good counterpoint because Call of Duty didn't have any of that because Nora was only interacting with herself. She didn't have anybody else to play off of. And the dialogue that she did have, the inner monologue that she kept kind of saying as she's uncovering all these mysteries, was completely void of any kind of, you know, personality, in my opinion.
More
You
of
know,
a rehashing, like you said.
it was more of a rehashing and less of a, um,
Development.
yeah, yeah, that's the best way to put it. Less, it wasn't a development, you know?
Yeah. And no, you're absolutely right. I mean, 110% Naughty Dog. I mean, they've mastered that, man. I mean, I think most of their reviews show that their storytelling is just second to none.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean that's so huge, man. Those little conversations, not to be missed, friends.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, love that. What else? I think just again, a lot of the statues that you encounter in the game are just stunning. There's plenty
Mm.
of moments where I just found myself just standing there, just soaking everything in, not eating a grilled cheese, really just standing there and like rotating the camera and just being like, wow, like people actually design this world. And
Mm.
again, sort of a redundant statement, but we don't always think about it. We play in the world, but then you
Sure.
realize in those moments that somebody designed this, somebody came up with this. They didn't necessarily use a book. They might have used some inspiration of some places in India, but I think that these are all fictional places for the most part,
Right.
especially the statues, and they're just they're incredible. So
Mm.
those are probably kind of a if I were to take those memorable moments and shove them in a bag, that would be it.
Yeah.
Um, and then final thoughts. I mean, I think ultimately what keeps most gamers coming back to Uncharted is that sense of adventure that they provide. There's not too many Indiana Jones simulators nowadays, and Uncharted really does it right.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said with four, everybody has an Indiana Jones inside of them. Whether it's 5% or 90%, we all have an adventure inside of us that wants to discover treasure and solve puzzles and look cool while doing it, and also be an expert climber, because the climbing in Uncharted is just, I mean, it's pretty unrealistic. I mean,
Yeah.
it's done well, but my God, there are some jumps and some things that you do that just no, very few people would be able to do and do it that flawlessly. And I've
Yeah.
definitely died a handful of times. And when you die, it's pretty like it's very similar to the Tomb Raider reboot. Like it's tragic.
Mm.
Like it's like Chloe. Like it's very like I don't know. I guess maybe even MGS1, like where you get the snake.
Yeah.
Like it's dramatic and like you feel it and you can see the camera pan down and watch your body like literally just ragdoll down a mountain, and you're just
Yeah.
like, yeah, there's no way I'm living from
Oh man.
that.
The
So,
I've always been amazed by the grip strength of characters in video games.
oh my God.
I mean, it doesn't help that like I'm wildly out of shape and I'm working on it, but how I can definitely not picture myself hanging from a cliff with these hands. I mean, these fingertips are too pretty, man. So-
Yeah, and there are jumps that you make that are just so unrealistic.
yeah.
Like if I were to do it, I mean, granted, I'm not a great jumper, I guess, but if I would just go like up and down, like I wouldn't be able to even get across like a 3 foot gap. I mean, that's a
Uh,
lie, I would, but there are some gaps that you have to like literally jump across, and like you can just tell that realistically, there's no way anybody would be able to really do it that well.
yeah.
But they do have some moments where you'll do one of those long jumps and you'll kind of do one of these,
Yep.
and then you make it to the ledge just barely. So
Mm,
I wouldn't say that there are too many moments that are like wildly unrealistic, but there are definitely some that you're like, there's no way.
yeah.
But they somehow have this like perfect concoction of like, let's make it kind of unrealistic, but also make it look realistic. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a weird blend, but Abby gripping the burrito and Dave
Epic
says,
outro is comparing grip strength to Abby gripping the burrito in The Last of Us Part 2.
dude, she looked ferocious eating that thing.
Well, you know, it's the apocalypse. People got to eat.
Yeah, she looked ravenous and hungry. But Jesus Christ, I'm thinking about the image now. Thanks, Dave. Um, but yeah, even though the story wasn't that memorable, you know, the bad guy that wants the tusk as well kind of concept,
Mm,
it was the storytelling and character development that is really, you know, the masterful part. And again, even though that wasn't as profound as 4, it's still good, and you become invested with Chloe and Nadine. You understand that there's a lot of roots of, you know, her father and her parents intertwined into why she's doing this and why she's still treasure hunting. So that was kind of
mm,
cool. Um, and ultimately, I wrote here that, you know, the Lost Legacy is carrying that torch of all the previous games, especially with 4, and it's not an easy torch to keep lit. And anybody that's played 4 would know that. I don't think you even have to play 1 through 3, but if you played 1 through 4, you know that that is a Olympic torch that if it's going to be carried, it needs to be carried well. And I think, you know, Chloe and Nadine and what they did with Lost Legacy, they managed to do it. And I don't think it's no small feat. Let's put it that way.
mm,
And to be able to do it in 5 to 7 hours and do it that well, um, I really think there's no reason to gloss over this game. You need to play it. If you've never played 1 through 4, I still think you can play it as a standalone because there's not too many links except for Sam
mm.
that you need to be concerned about. I wish it was longer. I like what it delivered. It was satiating, and ultimately, I'd play it again, dude.
That's awesome. Glad to hear it.
So
Glad to
I'd say
hear.
like a 9 out of 10 for sure.
That's impressive, especially for a game of, you know, such a short length in such a vast franchise. You know, I
Yeah,
think if it were on an island by itself and you gave it a 9, that would be pretty impressive on its own. But when you're stacking it up against, you know, Uncharted 1 through 4, that's high praise.
yeah, they did a bang up job, dude. And I remember when they debuted this game, I kind of ignored it. I was like, ugh, this looks like some spin off. I'm not touching this.
Yeah.
I'm so like negative about it for no reason. Even though Naughty Dog was behind it, I still was thinking that there's no way anybody could match what Nathan's done. And Chloe and Nadine are endearing in their own way. So,
Mm. So,
um,
question from the chat from Killer Sirach. He wants to know, is Lost Legacy a contender for Willie of the Year?
mm, I mean, I can say this much: it's definitely a game that I hold to a very high regard, and I think that if we do some kind of award show for this year, which I'm sure we will,
Mm.
it's probably gonna get a Willie, dude.
Yeah. So there you have it, a Willie for.
It took so much for me to like just be serious about that. Like, yeah, it's gonna get a Willie, dude. No, I'm
uh,
just not gonna smile. I'm not gonna laugh. I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
hold it in.
Yep. I'm glad you went with it. I really am. It warms me inside. It makes me so happy.
Oh Jesus Christ, my mind's in the gutter now, man.
Oh goodness. So what's next for you?
Mm. Well, a little sneak peek since we did this with you with Haven. I did play Uncharted 3
Mm.
after Lost Legacy, so that game has to get reviewed next week along with Haven.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've been playing Gravity Rush 2. So I'm
Nice.
hoping that if I can stay consistent with that, and I think I will, then we'll have that game to review in the next few weeks or so.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Haven I just wrapped up, and I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between what the hell did I started something the other night and I can't even remember it. But I've been playing Hitman 2 very casually. I've been kind of doing a mission here and there. That's a fun game. I'm looking forward
Yep.
to talking about that in more in depth. And oh, the Falconeer. I started playing the Falconeer.
Oh, okay.
And so far that's fun. I have not had an opportunity to spend a ton of time with it, but I'm definitely glad that I waited for it to hit Game Pass, because I was super excited about that game when it launched. I almost bought it, and I'm like, this feels like something that's going to be on Game Pass. Let me just kind of sit on it. And sure enough, it did hit this week. If you are a fan of games like Crimson Skies, any kind of dogfighting game, Rogue Squadron, Wing Commander, stuff like that, this is going to be up your alley. It is quite a bit of fun so far.
Wasn't this game on your list of games to play some time ago?
Yeah, so we just before the new year, I think, was it before the launch of the systems we talked about it? We had like a list of games that we wanted to play for the next gen.
I think so. I definitely think so.
This was one of those games, yes. So,
and wasn't there a reason that you held off on it? I can't remember exactly. I thought that there was a reason.
So when the reviews came out, they were a little bit disappointing. It was getting like 6s and 7s.
Okay.
And I kind of wanted to wait and see if it was going to be on Game Pass with numbers like that. If it was getting like 9s and 10s, I probably would have paid the $40 for it and just bought it outright. But just based on the scores that it was getting, and the feedback I was seeing from the reviews and from people that had played it, like they spoke highly of the game, but it was just falling short of that extra something, I guess. So I was like, let me just kind of hold off on it, and we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll wait for a sale and pick it up.
Okay.
And I'm kind of glad that I did. It allows me to kind of save some money and put it towards something else. We've been investing some money in the stream equipment, so that $50 that I didn't spend on the Falconeer, I put it towards a stream deck.
Sure.
Stuff like that. So, yeah. I don't know if I'll have a review for that in 2 weeks. I'm not sure how long that game is, but we have a lot of stuff planned. We got next week, and then in a couple weeks from now, we have something that I'm hoping will be a lot of fun to talk about on the air. I don't know if I want to reveal that quite yet. So
let's wait.
Yeah, let's
make them wait.
Make them wait. Stay tuned, folks.
Keep them sweating.
I think that brings us to the end of our show. Did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. Play the Lost Legacy and play games.
Play some games, right?
It's simple.
Where can they find you?
SoundCloud.com/Will_gear.
I love that it just popped up on the screen underneath you as you were saying that.
Oh yeah, I wonder how that happened.
It makes me so happy.
Magic.
It makes me so happy.
Streaming magic.
And you
That's
can
the small things.
Yeah, man. All the little things count. You can find me on Twitter @SeanStorm. That's where I've been just spouting my bullshit lately. And of course, you can find us on the web at www.WDGRPodcast.com. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at WDGRPodcast. Of course, we have a link for our Discord room in the show notes if you're listening to this afterwards, or if you're in the Twitch chat, just type !links in the chat room and you will get a link to our Discord room. We'd love to have you stop on by and hang out with us. It would make us very happy. We have a wonderful community. People talk about video games all day. Sometimes we talk about food. Sometimes we talk about like house stuff. Pets. We have all kinds of pet photos in there. So share pictures of your dogs and your cats and your horses. And it's going to be springtime soon, so the garden is going to be up and running again, man.
Oh, dude, I can't wait. I can't wait to show off some like herbs and shit.
Nikki and I are going to like rebuild the fucking garden this year. Like,
dude, I can't wait. I love your garden, man.
Thank you. I may need help, so be careful what you say, because you might be.
I am there.
Swinging a shovel with me.
I'm there in a heartbeat.
Oh man,
I want to do some like tilling. Let me use the tilling machine.
Oh, dude, that tiller is a beast. That is a workout.
I want to smell that earth.
You will smell the earth, Will.
That's the episode title.
Oh, God. On that note, everybody, really want to thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. And again, if you're not following us on Twitch, please hit that heart. Give us a follow. I don't think we can have subscribers yet. I don't know how any of this shit works, man. But we're recording live every Monday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. We'd love to have you stop on by, chat with us while we're recording. And on that note, we'll see you next week.
Take care.